This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, April 5th, 2006, and this is episode number 83 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from mgmstudios.org. Our panel today includes Len Testa of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome, Len.
Hey ho, Matt.
And we have the one Mike Scopa of MousePlanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
You know, once the hydrolated doors have opened completely, take Matt by the hand and please watch your step as you board, moving all the way into the hydrolator to allow Matt plenty of room for others boarding behind him.
Take small children and Matt by the hand.
Where's the mute button on here? And we also have Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Outstanding. And it's Wednesday, and if it's Wednesday, that means we're answering your listener questions. So if you'd like your questions answered, send them to us via email at questions@wdwtoday.com. There's also a form at wdwtoday.com. In case you don't have access to email, you can fill it out and send it in, and we'll get it. Our first question today comes from Eric from Baltimore, Maryland, who writes, "Hey guys, I'm new to the world of podcasts, but I'm thoroughly enjoying yours, so thanks. I'm hoping you might be able to help me. On our last trip to Walt Disney World, we had dinner in the main restaurant in Italy at Epcot. I believe he's referring to Alfredo's. We had some of the house sangria, and since then, I cannot get it out of my mind. I have never had sangria that was so delicious, not too sweet, not too light, but strong and very flavorful. Is there any chance you know of a resource that may have the recipe? I checked all the recipe books I could find in the park, and I've looked online and found nothing."
As a matter of fact, I think we can come up with a recipe. I don't have the exact. I know what the ingredients are. I don't know the exact. But when I called up Grandma Testa, to ask her what her sangria recipe was, this is what she gave me. All right. So what's our listener's name, Matt?
Eric.
All right, Eric. So here's what's in it. It's red wine with chestnuts, cloves, and apricot nectar. That's what Alfredo's is serving you. So chestnuts, honey, cloves, and apricot nectar. The question is what proportion do you combine those in, right?
Right.
So start off with a 750 milliliter bottle, an ordinary bottle of red wine. And to that, you're going to add about a quarter cup of honey. You're going to add 4 whole cloves. I was going to say add cloves to taste, but you're going to add about 2 cups, about a cup and a half of apricot nectar. The only thing that I couldn't figure out was the chestnuts. How many chestnuts to add, or in what proportion? I'm going to say start with like a cup of chestnuts, Eric, and go from there and see how that is. Let it combine everything in a large pitcher. Stir everything till everything's dissolved. Cover and refrigerate overnight, and remove the cloves and the chestnuts before serving. Give that a shot and see what happens. Those are definitely
let us know about it.
Go ahead. What?
I say, let us know about it.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know if that works, especially if you adjust the proportions. I know those are definitely the 5 ingredients: the red wine, the chestnuts, the honey, cloves, and apricot nectar. But the proportions might take a bit to get.
Well, our next question comes from Austin Malone, who writes, "Hey guys, I just finished reading The Kingdom Keepers by Ridley Pearson. Do you think that is possibly going to be made into a movie, especially considering that it could bring a lot of recognition to the Magic Kingdom?"
Well, it just so happens that my wife just finished that book, and maybe just a quickie little synopsis of what the book's about. It's about 5 teenagers who are pitted against Disney villains and witches that threaten both the future of Walt Disney World and the stability of the world outside its walls. Yes, I did read that from the jacket. From what I understand, the majority of the book takes place in the Magic Kingdom and in the Pirates of the Caribbean. I remember my wife talking to me about the book, and she said to me that I would enjoy it. However, there were some pieces that were in error. There were certain things that were said in the book that she knew they were wrong. So that may have to be taken care of. The other thing is that she said it would probably be a good comedy. It would make a good comedy movie. So I think that I think that it can have possibilities as a movie, and who knows? We'll wait and see. Ridley Pearson is the author. Kingdom Keepers, and it's Disney Press.
I'll put a link in the show notes to Amazon so anyone's interested in that book can look up more information about it.
Yep.
Our next question comes from Jeff from Houston, who actually runs the Meandering Mouse podcast. And Jeff writes in with an Animal Kingdom strategy. He says, my suggestion for Animal Kingdom, until this attraction's newness and popularity wears off, give it a summer and a holiday season and things may change, your touring plan should consist of a specific for dealing with Expedition Everest. Tour another park on one of its better crowd days during the morning, and then hop over to Animal Kingdom an hour and a half before closing. You'll find that almost all guests are making a mad dash out of the park for a break before evening entertainment at the other parks or to grab dinner. You'll be able to practically walk onto Expedition Everest almost every time during the last hour Animal Kingdom is open. This worked every single day during the annual pass preview. Think about this from another angle. Most guests for the next year will have Expedition Everest on the top of their list and will be lined up at the Animal Kingdom rope in the morning for Everest. They'll get some rides in on Everest and hop into another park. In true Animal Kingdom is a half-day park style. I hope this tip helps, and I'm sure Len and his Walt Disney World Research monkeys can solidify the strategy for me even further. Len, what do you and your flying monkeys have to say about this?
I'll get you my pretties. That's what we have to say. I like Jeff's strategy. I mean, it's true that most people bail out of the Animal Kingdom. I think roughly starting around 3 o'clock, which, and we've said this before, that's why the parade's at 4 o'clock, to keep as many people in the park as possible. That being said, yeah, if you're going to be somewhere else in the morning and you want to ride Everest one day, I think the hour before close is definitely the way to go. If you don't have fast passes, the downside to that is, of course, that fast pass will definitely be gone for it. But I think Matt, in the next on Friday's show, we're going to talk all about Animal Kingdom touring plan, because when I was in Walt Disney World 2 weeks ago for the unofficial guide research trip, that's all we did is test different strategies for the touring the Animal Kingdom. So Friday show, right?
Yep. So tune in on Friday, and you can hear some Animal Kingdom touring strategies that differ from Scopa and my strategy of avoiding it.
No, but Jeff's point is good. If you're going to catch it in the last hour.
Yep. Ed Harrell of Montgomery, Alabama writes, "Hey guys, I've stayed on property at Walt Disney World and loved it. I am now in the military and am considering staying at Shades of Green Resort when we visit next year. How does this resort compare to the Disney-operated resorts in size, theming, price, and ticketing options?"
I can do some of that. In terms of size, Ed, it's or in terms of scope, let's start like that. It's essentially the same as a deluxe resort. Its rooms are about 450 square feet, maybe a little bit bigger, and that would be bigger than anything the Grand Floridian's got in a standard room. So rooms are bigger. The rates, Ed, depend on your rank, and I think the higher the rank, the more it costs you. You definitely got to check with the Shades of Green website. I think it's shadesofgreen.org is the website, Matt, if you want to throw a link on there.
Will do.
The rooms themselves are beautiful. We got a tour of them back in December, and they are fantastic. They've got several pools. They've got most rooms have 2 queen-size beds. They've got the usual table. They've got 4 chairs. Every room has either a balcony or a patio. The couple downsides to it, I don't think the shuttle service to the parks is that great, and I don't think the on-site dining is fantastic. But you've got golf course views. The grounds themselves are immaculate. I walked around it; it was beautiful. I think you'd definitely like it, Ed, and especially for the price. It's going to be a lot less than anything you would pay for a comparable Disney-owned room. And if you're going, drop me a line, by the way, because I'm trying to stay there for one night. So if you want to get 2 rooms, and I'll split the cost with you.
Our next email comes from Mickey from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who writes, "Thanks to your intriguing podcast, my workout schedule is now 45 minutes on the treadmill. But sharing my exercise routine is not the point of this email. I have read and heard that Walt Disney World opened in October of 1971. Do you know the exact date? The reason that I ask is because my husband was born October 17th, 1971.
It opened October 1st, 1971 for a very important reason. When they opened up the Disney World, Disneyland, they had a problem in September. I think they opened it September 17th of 1955, and they had a problem, and they discovered that it would be better if they opened it up in October rather than in September, because they felt that it would be less. They would have fewer. They would not have as many people. I mean, they just crowded that Disneyland park in 1955, and they wanted to avoid it. And they historically looked at the Disneyland attendance figures, and the first week or two of October was always the lightest attended times of the year. So they said, well, let's see if we can do that for Walt Disney World. And so they opened it up on October 1st, 1971.
A day that will live in infamy. October 1st.
Our next email comes from... Well, everyone's going to think we're Lou Gehrig fans, or anti-Lou Gehrig fans, I'm not sure.
Just stupid sound effect, man.
Our next email comes from Chris Rowland of Brown Mills, New Jersey, who writes, "Hi, I've just recently started listening to the Walt Disney World Today podcast, cramming a few episodes a day into the commute to and from work. I have been in love with Epcot since my honeymoon in 1994, my first real Walt Disney World trip. Returned a couple of times before 2000, and I took the Backstage Magic and Treasures of World Showcase tours in 2001. Haven't been back since. I'm planning to take the Undiscovered Epcot tour. I was wondering if you can think of any alternative tours that I might enjoy more. I'm a computer programmer and a technology mutt, and my ideal tours would focus on the technology, the atmospheric aspects of the park, especially the audio systems of Epcot and the Magic Kingdom. And no, I don't feel the need to roll around on a Segway, as cool as that admittedly sounds."
Wow, a peer group. This is great. I actually took the behind-the-scenes tour a couple of weeks ago, and it depends on the host you get, but it was fairly geeky. I mean, it was all about the hydroponics that run the land pavilion, the boat ride. It was about an hour long. Cost was, I think, $10 or $15. I had a DVC, a Disney Vacation Club discount, so I think it was like $10. But that wasn't bad, and that's only like an hour or so. So, Chris, if you don't want to commit the entire morning or afternoon to a tour, that might be the way to go. And the good thing is, too, they actually give you like a food sample of, like they gave us cucumbers that they were growing hydroponically in the pavilion. And if you are fast, you can probably steal one of the tomatoes from the world record tomato plant. And I also ate some lemongrass on the way out, which I'm sure to hear from the police about now. But try that, Chris, instead of the if you don't want to do the tour. But I think the Undiscovered Epcot tour is probably going to be fantastic for you, though.
Chris also says, and let me just say that I hope that John Lasseter's first action as Chief Creative Officer is to tear down the Epcot wand next to Spaceship Earth, because it makes Spaceship Earth look like a toy. I mean, it's huge. Everybody notices that.
Does Chris want to be on the podcast? I think we all feel the same way. I mean, yeah. Yeah, Lasseter, it'll be interesting to see, because Lasseter hasn't, they haven't announced any major rides recently. Like after Everest, that was...
Yeah,
we haven't heard anything, and the rumors have been relatively quiet. I think everyone's waiting to see what Lasseter thinks.
Well, you should listen to the episode that we had with Jim Hill on. He was talking a little bit about that and how gun-shy they are about really doing anything over there.
Yeah.
Our next email is from Susan Schaefer of Fayetteville, Arkansas, who writes, "Guys, I love the podcast. Keep up the great work. You mentioned food poisoning risks on one or two shows. I was wondering if you could give me a quick summary of places or items to specifically avoid or be careful of. When my family visited Walt Disney World in November of 2003, we were wiped out for 2 days after a food poisoning incident that both myself and my husband fell victim to. Luckily, our 20-month-old daughter was unaffected. This was after dinner at 1900 Park Fair and lunch at Typhoon Lagoon. We're still not sure what got us, but whatever it was, we don't want it again. We're returning to the world in May with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, along with our daughter, and I want to do all I can to keep everyone healthy."
Before we discuss food poisoning in Walt Disney World, let me just mention that this episode is brought to you by the law firm of Cohen & Cohen. And any litigation... no, anyway. I don't know. It's a touchy subject.
I think we can speak. Yes, we can speak in general terms.
We speak in general terms.
Fundi. Let's hear from the Swedish chef. Chef, what do you say? Fundi.
Exactly.
I think that one of the general guidelines that you can go by is that you want to be very careful when you go into any Walt Disney World restaurant or any restaurant in which there is a buffet. You don't know how long it's there. Hopefully they are changing it rather frequently, so you don't have to worry about it becoming tainted. I would avoid anything involving cream or mayonnaise because that seems to spoil rather quickly.
Susan said she was at 1900 Park Fair, right?
Yeah, that's right. And 1900 Park Fair
That's a buffet.
and Typhoon Lagoon. She wasn't sure.
You don't know what's floating around in the water there.
Yeah, don't take any mouthfuls of water while you're in the.
Yeah, but to Mike's point, that's a 1900 Park Fair is a buffet, right?
That is a buffet, yes.
Yes.
A breakfast buffet as well as a dinner buffet.
You know, last year I went through the state of Florida's health inspection records for restaurants, and I don't recall seeing anything big about or anything notable about any of the Disney restaurants. You know, Florida's got that Sunshine Law where public records are accessible via the web, and with Matt, I'll see if I can provide you a link to the database of it. But they update it fairly regularly. I don't recall seeing anything on Disney property that did not get an A or pass a safe handling food inspection. I'll send you the link so our readers can take a look at it.
Great. Our next question is from Genevieve Bouchard. I think she's out of country. Who writes, "Hey boys, love the podcast. Listen to them on my daily walk to work through the snow and slush. Wishing I was in Orlando instead of Montreal. I have recently taken a trip to Disneyland and was appalled at the fiasco awaiting us every day at the turnstiles. 15 to 20 minute lineups, not only in the morning, but at all times of the day we wish to re-enter the park. The cast members scan all park tickets and hand stamp them. Any chance they would transfer to biometrics or another more efficient way to get the crowds into the park, similar to Walt Disney World? After dozens of trips to Walt Disney World, I was rather disappointed at the lack of organization at the happiest place on Earth."
Yeah, the biometrics are really the issue there for a couple of reasons. Number one is people don't understand how it works, and number two, I don't know if Disney's checking very strictly the whether the fingers inserted into the mechanism match what's on the ticket. But the first time you use the ticket, I think we've talked about this before, Matt. First time you use the ticket, it's not actually checking your fingers; it's actually reading the measurements on your two fingers and storing that on their central servers somewhere, so that on subsequent trips back through, it'll compare the fingers that are being presented on this entry with the fingers that were presented the first time through. That being said, the system doesn't work well. When I was in the Animal Kingdom a couple of weeks ago, the line to get in through the turnstiles was back where the bag check was. It was like a 30-minute line just to get in the park.
Wow.
And I think Disney's obvious incentive in checking these tickets very strictly is to ensure that people aren't reselling partially used tickets. That being said, guests hate having to wait to get in the park. I mean, you've gone through the bag check, you've stood in line to do your tickets. A 30-minute wait to get in the Animal Kingdom is almost more than most people can bear. So I do hope they loosen the restrictions on the biometric, but I think they've got too much money involved in the pricing system of the new tickets to go away from the biometrics. Hopefully they'll just build more turnstiles. That's going to be tough at certain parks, though.
Hey, Len, do you think the lines would be easier if they put one or two or maybe even three of the turnstiles to annual pass holders who know what they're doing, who they don't have to do it that hard of a check on the biometrics? Do you think that would maybe alleviate some of that?
Maybe. I don't know that you would devote 2 or 3 turnstiles to it. And then you have the issue of breaking up families that might have annual passes and not. They got to do something. In Epcot, they've got a bunch of unused turnstiles. That's okay. Magic Kingdom, they built a bunch of turnstiles. That's okay. The studios, I didn't seem to see an issue when I was there a couple weeks ago. Animal Kingdom, they need more turnstiles, I think, especially with Everest. The problem is they sort of built the infrastructure around the turnstiles.
I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got like the buildings on either side, so they've got a limited number of places they could expand out. That's going to be an issue for a while, I think.
Well, quickly, Matt from Eastchester, New York, has a question about Star Wars Weekend, but I can tell you, Matt, that we're having a whole show about Star Wars Weekends coming up on April 10th. So I believe that's a week from this show, last Monday's show. So if you tune in for that one, we'll be discussing everything about Star Wars Weekend and all that. And Well, that's it for us today. This has been episode number 83 of Walt Disney World Today. If you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. You can also email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Alentos, I'm Mike Scopa and Mike Newell. I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.